Hello and welcome to another episode of SoFly. It's beautiful weather here in Southern Ontario. Then we're laughing because we just did this whole intro and I forgot to hit record, which is kind of a classic thing I've done a couple times now, and I'm very sorry.
That's okay.
Oh my god, eh? Well, we were only 5 minutes into that chat, but yeah, we're here. It's beautiful weather, obviously, and it's starting to get nice kind of everywhere. Summer's really come early here to Toronto. It feels like it's sweltering 30 degrees. No, it's not 30. It's like in the 20s, but it's hot up here in my house, but I got the ACs connected, so it's all good. And of course, my name is Mitch. We've got Aldo.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you, hear you. Oh my God, Mitch, what are you drinking, buddy?
Oh yeah, I've got myself a little hazy IPA Veer by Muskoka. Ooh, baby.
Ooh, a little non-alc.
Very, very tasty. I like drinking the non-alcs from time to time here. It's especially when we do the podcasts, because we like to have a beer when we do the cast, but sometimes you don't want the alcohol.
Yeah. I mean, like, hey, man, definitely not drink as much as I used to because the next day is rough when you're 38.
Oh yeah, I feel you.
But I got mine in I'm drinking the lager with lime, but in our suite, if you're on YouTube, watching us on YouTube, on our sweet SoFly Yeti mugs.
Oh man, yeah, those mugs are pretty good. If you were at Sodas, maybe even copped one yourself. But that's a good vessel for a fine beverage. Which one are you drinking?
I'm drinking the lager with lime.
Ooh, baby!
Yeah,
I don't think I've had that
two
one.
flavors. The hazy.
This one's really good.
Yeah, man.
Hazy
they did a great
IPA.
job.
Super. It's like very tasty.
Yeah, non-alc beer is no longer its own thing. They just de-alcoholize regular beer, so it tastes delicious.
That's kind of cool. Like the tech behind it.
Yeah, the tech is pretty amazing. Like, I mean, if anybody's ever been to Muskoka Brewing, and if you haven't, you should go. It's an amazing facility in Bracebridge, Ontario. They've, it looks like it's the size of a fucking airplane hangar. Like, they make so much beer, it's crazy.
Yeah,
and they make a lot of beer for other people too.
Oh, they do that as well. That's cool. Yeah, I like them. I like this one. I also like the Tread Lightly a lot. It's really good.
Oh yeah,
that's an alcoholic beer, but delicious.
And they just did a collab with our buddy Jim Baird, fellow Ontario
dude. I saw
adventurer.
That. That's rad.
Yeah,
that's actually so. You've had it, eh?
I have it in the fridge I was waiting to crack one with you, buddy.
Oh my gosh.
Jim Baird, of course, is a amazing YouTuber. Him and his brother, One Alone. But if you watch his YouTube channel, he does a lot of backcountry canoeing, and he's recently, in the past couple of years, got into fly fishing, and he's obsessed with fly fishing for brook trout.
We got to get him.
Country.
We got to get him on the podcast. I know we've tried, but we got to get him on here for sure.
Oh, we'll get him on, and he has a podcast now too. So he's awesome. So go check out.
Geolocate him and just show up and be like, "Yo, my God, no way, you're here!" And he's like, "It's my house." And we're like, "We got all our mics and stuff. Maybe we just
so weird
do a podcast." Anyways,
I've got this beer with your name on it. You want one?
Just drinking it. Yeah. So welcome to the show. We're very excited to be chatting with a great guest today that we met down in Denver at the fly fishing show. Fritz Miller, amazing angler. He's a big bug guy. Super nice guy too, and I really like Fritz a lot. And yeah, he takes us into his fishing life, but obviously also fishing in New Jersey, which is an interesting conversation which we haven't really touched on at all in this episode, in this podcast series.
No,
talked about Jersey.
Yeah, like I think you were saying, and he was saying that don't really think of at least freshwater opportunities in New Jersey, because obviously your brain just goes to stripers and of course the Jersey Shore,
of course.
But of course Snooki, my God, and but yeah, it was cool to chat about saltwater and freshwater opportunities in Jersey and how close he is to like all the opportunities in Pennsylvania too. So.
And he talks about it like later. He's like, like people don't think about the countryside of New Jersey at all. Like he's like, I grew up like next to like a bunch of cows and like there was nothing where I grew up. It's like, of course there's countryside in New Jersey. You just think it's built up and stuff. But so yeah, it's a good episode. It was a good chat with Fritz, and very.
He's just a passionate guy. He's very energetic.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Oh yeah,
he's just amped on life.
Really like Fritz. But before we get into that, why don't we chat a little bit about upcoming how-she-dos with the SoFly world?
Well, the biggest thing is probably June 9th is the Trout Rodeo 2.0. So this is an event we started last year with Phil from Good Lot Brewing, which is up in Caledon. And basically, we're partnering with Good Lot, of course, Patagonia, and actually Hook A is giving us some support as well. Basically, it's just a midday break from your fishing Sunday. Yep. So, fish that morning hatch, whether you're on the Grand, the Credit, or somewhere I don't know. And then come meet us. Doors are at noon. Tickets are $30, and tickets include 100% of the proceeds go to the Coalition of the West Credit River. So you're making a donation. And then also you get entered into the raffle there's a Hook A dry bag, which is an amazing 30-liter dry backpack. What I'm calling a day tripping pack, which is like there's like a Hook A fly box, a Hook A flask, and some other like bits and bobs like hats and stuff.
Sick.
Patagonia is going to give us a bunch of prizes as well, and but it was a really fun event last year. Like, it rained, unfortunately, but I mean, we were just watching movies anyway. If you've ever been to Good Lot, it's gorgeous. It used to be a hop growing farm. It still is, but they brew beer as well. There's a giant patio in amongst the hop vines, and there's like great food. But the movies are actually going to be in their barn, which
what a cool place to watch fishing movies.
Yeah, and then after, you can stay. You don't have to, but if you do stay between 3 and 5 o'clock, the hop bin, which is the patio, there's going to be live music. And so if you want to just hang out and chill, but that's only till 5 o'clock. So really, you could chill and then still get to the river and fish.
Do we know who's playing?
I don't. I'm on
local musician.
Yeah, exactly.
Sick.
But Good Lot is at 18825 Shaws Creek Road in Alton, Ontario, which is in Caledon. This is Sunday, June 9th, 12 to 3. We're going to be there. Tickets midday. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Just take a midday lunch break with us. Win some prizes.
Fish the morning, come by, fish the evening. There you go.
Watch some movies. Have some fun.
Yeah.
Raise some money. Oh, and sorry, Trout Unlimited is going to be there again with their garage sale. So if you were there last year, they had a ton of wicked, like, new and old gear. I got a really great leather and shearling fly wallet from Barber. It was $2.
That's rad.
And they have a ton of fly tying materials like capes and bucktails and stuff. So that was really cool too. So yeah, come on by, and should be fun. I think that same weekend, if I'm not losing my marbles, which I tend to do, is June 8th, the day before, which is the Saturday. School is back in session. It's Smooth River Academy.
Oh, I thought you meant like school. I was like, kids go back to school.
Yeah, sorry, school's back in session, Mitch.
Didn't they just get off school? Those poor kids.
I was like, I hope you did your summer reading.
Oh, God.
But Smooth River Academy is back. So if you want to go to smoothriver.ca, you can check out or you can go to SoFly.ca and our events page, and you can learn more about Smooth River. But in the morning, there's an intro to fly fishing class, some beginner trout. It's going to be back on the Grand River. And then the afternoon is kind of an intermediate class. So, we won't be going over the basics, but they'll be going over more so like, euro nymphing techniques and whatever. Mitch, you were there last year. I wasn't. So maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got like some of the best instructors you could have in, Southern Ontario doing a comprehensive fly fishing course. It's really great. And it's hands-on. You get it in the water. It's an awesome program that he's running for sure.
Yeah, and we always mention, the Ottawa Fly Fishing Society, the Ottawa Fly Fishers, ottawaflyfishers.ca. They post monthly calendars. Of course, we're recording this in May, so they don't have their June events up. But if you go to ottawaflyfishers.ca, they're doing several things a month now, which is pretty amazing. Like, looking at May, they've done a fly tying class, a casting class, a club trip to somewhere in Quebec, gear swaps. Just check it out. ottawaflyfishers.ca. We're obviously from Ottawa. That's why we're mentioning it. Do you have an event? Are you hosting something?
Me?
No, just anybody who's listening. Right. Hit us up at info@sofly.ca and we'll mention it on the show.
Well, June 9th, I'm out of town. I get back around 2, so I might even just like rip home, hop in my car, grab my trout stuff, and come on down.
Oh, dude, please.
I might, and then just kind of fish the evening. We'll see if I'm like super tired or something. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun month. Fun month. Come on down, win some stuff. And I will say the Hook A prizes are rad.
The backpack is sick.
Yeah, the Hook A stuff's super cool. It's definitely something you want to win because their gear's dialed.
Fun month.
Dialed stuff, fun month. That's what we're calling June. That's what we're calling June.
Fun month, June.
Fun month, June, baby.
And of course, I mean, come on, bass opener at the end of the month.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
Oh, actually.
What?
That just jogged my memory.
Okay. Stoked to
There.
go out with Jordan on bass.
Oh
Okay.
my god, big time.
Shout out Perfect
Uh,
Drift.
Shut up, perfect. I feel like the Forest City Fly Club is doing a bass opener party. The
No
week
way.
before bass opener,
What
like
the
a
heck?
barbecue, a bass opener, but BBQ.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, check out Forest City Fly Club. If you're not a member, I maybe just email them and see if you can attend because it'd be a great way to, they're definitely looking for more members. So it'd be a great
Cool.
way to meet everybody.
Forest City Fly Club.
Forest City Fly Club, which
Nice
is of course
folks.
London, Ontario.
Yeah.
Nice folks. We've been there twice. They're really great. Bass
No,
Opener Barbecue, which
I
is on
gotta go
the.
hang out with them.
Well, I'm fishing with them tomorrow, buddy.
No, I know. I saw that in the Cal, and I was like, "Dang," because I got to leave tomorrow. It's like it always never lines
I
up.
know.
But
Me and I just are gonna go hit the Grand River with
yeah,
the crew from Forest City. We're stoked.
it's
It's
fun.
so nice of them to invite us. So
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Well, okay. Well, I think I liked this chat even better the second time, and I think maybe
So nice. We did it twice.
we did it twice. I think now maybe we pop on down to the interview with Fritz. How about that?
Sounds great.
All right, here's Fritz Miller. Everybody enjoy. Fritz Miller is a guide and captain for South Branch Outfitters in New Jersey, which is where he does most of his guiding for trout and pike. He's been fly fishing and tying for almost 20 years. His favorite thing to do other than tying is exploring smaller wild streams with his pup, Harry. We first met Fritz when we were in Denver at the fly fishing show. We stumbled upon his booth where he was tying up a storm of absolutely magnificent streamers. He spoke with passion about his craft, pulled us right in. We knew then and there we had to get him on the show sometime. And here it is. Here we are today with Fritz on SoFly. Fritz, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for coming on. It's
My pleasure. My
very
pleasure,
cool.
man.
And where are you calling in from today?
I'm actually calling in from Levittown, Pennsylvania, which is pretty much right along the Delaware River. Right across. I mean, I could see the river. I could see New Jersey from where I'm at. So yeah, calling in from Pennsylvania today.
Okay, rad.
Did you fish?
Today, no, man. I worked a day job today. The day job is I'm a child therapist. I work with kids with developmental delays. So yeah, Monday to Friday. Well, I'd say Monday to like Thursday. I do that, and then Friday is usually fishing, guiding day kind of thing, and then weekends I'm on the water most of the time.
Okay.
I think like 1 or 2 days a month I'm at the Orvis by me. I teach their fly fishing and fly tying 101 and 201 classes.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I do enjoy that aspect of it. I meet a lot of really cool people, doing that. And then I like the introduction to the fly fishing stuff. Like I love getting like young kids involved. I love getting I think one of my most recent clients, she's like almost a 70-year-old woman,
Oh, wow.
and she's
Yeah.
just going through like I wouldn't even call it a midlife crisis, but like a late life crisis where she just decided
Yeah.
she wanted to pick up a fly rod and go fishing, and she's pretty
That's
dang
great.
good at it.
Yeah.
Which is really cool to get her on the water and see. It's inspiring, you know what I mean? Because at 70 years old, I want to be able to do what she's doing. And she's rock hopping and she's roll casting and bending down a net and fish. And I'm like, that's inspiration right there, man.
That's cool,
That's
man.
where I want to be when I'm 70, 75 years old.
Yeah.
Amen.
100%. So you're a fly tyer, you're a guide and educator. How did this all begin? Where does your fishing career start, and how did it take you to this point?
So, I mean, I grew up on the water. I lived right on the Delaware River my entire life. Literally in my backyard, I could take 50 steps and be on the water pretty much.
Yeah.
We have a house down the shore in Long Beach Island. I grew up down there, so I mean I've had a rod in my hand since I was a baby. But I really didn't start fly fishing until I was in college, and that's
Okay.
it's kind of a funny story. My freshman year, I was playing pool in our little lobby, and these two kids came in and they were carrying fly rods. There's this kid named Matt Brill and Dave Hilterbrand, and we're shooting pool, and they come in and we just start talking, you know what I mean, fishing. I'm like, oh yeah, man, I fish a lot. I've never fly fished, but I mean, I've chased stripers, fluke, bass, you name it. If it swims, I try to catch it. So
Yeah.
they invited me fishing one day, and they were like, hey man, do you want to come fishing with us? We're gonna go trout fishing. And my first thought was, I use them as bait because I don't want to go catch them. I mean, I'm going to live line them for muskie or live line them for stripers. You know what I mean? So they talked me into it, and yeah, I could not do it. I was in trees. I had a hook in my ear. I couldn't figure it out, and they just made it look so easy. And like, I mean, they had no intention on teaching me. They just handed me a rod and said, "Fish," and
Yeah.
I'm watching them, and I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And I have a very perfectionist mindset. I don't need to be the best at something, but I need to be above average at it. You know, especially if it's something that I like. So, right from there, I went to Dick's Sporting Goods and I bought the first fly rod that I could find, and I had no idea what I bought. I bought I think it was an Eagle Claw, one of these big
Nice.
yellow monstrosity, a
Yeah.
broomstick. You know,
Yeah.
and I skipped class for 3 days, and this was kind of like this was like pre-YouTube. There was like one casting video on YouTube,
Mhm.
and you didn't really get service anywhere. I had like just I think I had just gotten like my first iPhone, and it was like the brick, so you could kind of watch videos on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I went to the fly shop and I bought a couple books, and I would sit on this rock, and I was reading books and watching the one video over and over again and figuring out how I could do it. And I finally got the concept of like roll casting down the first 2 days, and then I was learning how to like do an indicator setup and, what the flies were, what the hell I was doing. I was just literally sitting on a rock. I didn't even have waders, so I was wearing a bathing suit and like an old pair of Nikes. And just reading this book, trying to figure it out. So then I called the kid Dave and I was like, dude, what the fuck am I doing wrong? So he brings me out to this river called the Peak West River. And we fish all day. And I think he caught like one, and I didn't. Nothing even sniffed my stuff.
Yeah.
And we're getting ready to leave, and we're fishing behind this old abandoned restaurant that used to look like a train car. And we're watching this little rainbow trout come up. And like clockwork, every 30 seconds, he's coming up. And Dave's like, he ties on this little blue wing olive emerger. And he was like, dude, just do your best to cast it out there. And then he said, just don't move the rod. He said, if that fish comes up and you think your fly is by it, just set the hook. So we were at this for like 20 minutes. And then pure luck. When I tell you pure luck, this fish ate my horribly presented fly. And that was the first trout that I ever caught. And I was like, when I tell you like hooked, like I'm talking like heroin hooked. That is down a rabbit hole that I have never been down. I mean, I've spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars that year on tying stuff, on rods, on books, on you name it. But I'm really stubborn, and I never booked a guide. I never took a casting lesson. I wanted to do it all myself. I never took a tying class. I bought a couple videos, and Tim Flagler had just like kind of really started doing the Tight Lines productions right around then. And at that time, it was Matt Grobart's hands that were tying the flies.
Right.
But Tim was shooting it and narrating it,
Yeah.
So being that they were all from my area, I started to run into them on the streams. I started to run into them at fly shops and, started to ask questions. And then I met this gentleman, I think it's probably about 5 years into my my fly fishing career, a gentleman by the name of Bart Lombardo. And he's probably one of my best friends now. And he's an older gentleman. He just kind of like took me under his wing. And we stayed like friendly through the shows and stuff. And then I started working at Orvis, and, just one thing led to another.
Yeah.
And then, as, the fishing progressed, I get it, just, perfectionist mentality. If it swims, I wanted to catch it. So I started chasing smallmouth and largemouth and carp and stripers. And then I discovered pike. And that was by pure accident. I was going to school at Montclair, which is in North New Jersey, and the Passaic River kind of runs like right behind the campus. So there was this old spillway with this kind of like waterfall, and it would load up with smallmouth in the summer, and it would load up with carp. And I had no idea that there was pike in there. So I was catching these smallmouth, and I mean, they were talking like maybe 7-8 inches, just these little things. And they were taking these little foam hoppers and this still water. And they were actually taking something like this. I was actually tying these for one of my trips the other day. But I was just throwing little foam hoppers like this.
Oh, okay, yeah, like a little, little hopper.
Yeah, just little tiny things. And these smallmouth were coming up and crushing it. And I was fighting this little smallmouth, and this pike came and annihilated this thing. And
that's so cool. Yeah, it hit a hopper.
No, it ate the smallmouth.
It ate the smallmouth.
Oh, sorry, it ate the smallmouth.
It ate the smallmouth. Yeah, no, it ate the smallmouth.
Classic moment.
Yeah, I was fighting this little smallmouth, just having fun with him, and I was fishing a 3-weight. And this thing just came and annihilated it, and I was like, "What in God's name was that?" So I went to the fly shop, and I was talking to talking to one of the guys there. I was like, yeah, I was fishing, in Little Falls, behind the spillway, dude. And I was like, something came up and just completely annihilated the smallmouth that I had on. He was probably a big pike. And I was like, okay, done. Done.
Yeah.
So then I just kind of went down that wormhole, and I just did a lot of exploring through college for them. And then I put pike on a back burner for probably, I don't even know how many years, but I moved back down to South Jersey, back to where I was originally from, and I just chased stripers, stripers and largemouth, and that was it.
Oh,
And
that's
then, that fishery gets kind of crowded, to say the least, around here anymore. And it's not even just with fly rods; it's like everybody under the sun. If you go and fish the Raritan Bay this weekend, there'll be 1,000 boats. And sometimes
wow.
it's just not fun, but the river that I fish for these pike, I could do an 8-hour drift and maybe see one boat. It's a very untouched fishery. I mean, I've been doing a lot of presentations on it because I kind of want to bring light to it, for the sole fact that the more people that fish for them, the more people that are kind of engaged in it, the more recognition it'll get from the state. Maybe they'll put in more boat launches. Maybe they'll keep up with their stocking programs, keep up with maybe some like stream restorations and stream cleanups. So recently I've been doing a lot of like presentations on fishing the Passaic River for pike at a lot of the TU chapters by me and a lot of the fly shops by me, just to people don't know about it. And it's a great midsummer fishery. When trout are shut down, stripers are, kind of pushing all over the place. And now we have these highly aggressive, sometimes 40-inch fish that are super, super eager to eat a fly. They're not hard to catch. Sometimes they're hard to find, but they're not hard to catch. So just trying to open people's eyes to that. And I give these presentations, people are like, I had no idea we had pike in New Jersey. And I'm like, we do.
Yeah.
And they're there in big numbers and big sizes, and it's tons of fun.
Well, okay, that's a lot to
Unpack there.
in a way, because so fly fishing, you started, it was kind of the complexity of it that got you wanting to go out, right? Like you're like, I gotta crack this nut.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, hooking the trout was like, oh, okay, this is the best thing ever, because you had the feel for it. And then pike eating the bass. That's such a classic moment. I feel like that's happened to you all, though, right? Like on the Otter River or something like that.
Oh, for sure. You're like fishing for panfish, and all of a sudden, like this, something just annihilates, and you're like, well, I don't ever want to fish for a panfish again.
You're like, what? That's in this river? Like, why am I fishing smallies?
Yeah.
But it's cool, Fritz. Like, you never forget the first dry fly eat.
Mm-mm.
And you're right. That really does. I mean, I think that's probably might be the most, I don't know, the moment most responsible for many, many fly fishing addictions is the moment. Like maybe you've caught like a few on nymphs or whatever, or
that was
an
my
indicator.
First, that was my
but
first
the first
one.
time, yeah, exactly. You're just like, bam. And you're like, well, okay, well.
Yeah. It's like
well, now my life is over.
Yeah. I think what really got me is I love the entomology aspect of things. Like I love the bugs. And it's funny, as I was talking to somebody the other day, and they asked me if I could do anything in the world, what would I do? And I would go back to school for aquatic entomology. If somebody was like, I'll pay for your degree, I'd enroll today. I would hang this phone up and I would go right on somewhere and I would enroll. And I would love to do it. It's just one, I don't want to pay for it. I don't want student loans. I don't want to take out any more money.
Aquatic entomology is like fascinating. That side of fly fishing is so big, and it's like, it's just a huge part of the sport that could be so different and so interesting.
It's funny that you bring that up too, Fritz. Like Mitch and I were just talking about this the other day. Like Mitch just bought a book on. We're old fly fish rats. Like we're aging hipsters now, but like I'm approaching 40, and but my teens, my early 20s, I worked in fly shops, and like I feel like there's part of the the education and the love of the sport that's coming back, and to like that time in my life, and that time in my life was really entomology heavy. We had a really amazing fly tyer at my fly shop who was I had a background in biology and was like really adamant on me learning the Latin words of every mayfly, the Latin names of every mayfly. And Mitch just bought this book, and yeah, you're right, Mitch. And Fritz, it's fascinating.
It's a whole other
it's how
world.
the ecosystem, it's the
It
building block
is.
of that ecosystem.
And what a lot of people don't understand is that, like, the type of bugs that you have on your river are a direct indicator of how pristine
Yes.
your river system
Yeah.
is. So for
Yes.
us, like Central PA and North Central PA, we have this green drake hatch, and there's certain rivers that have them in numbers, and there's certain rivers that don't have them. Now, there's rivers that don't have them, and there's still trout in them, and you can still catch good trout in them. But like the fact that that bug will not lay eggs on that river is a direct indicator of the poor water quality. So learning that aspect of it really kind of like hones you into like what rivers you're fishing, you know what I mean, and why you can go fish one river and catch a dozen wild brown trout over 18 inches, and then you go fish a river 7 miles away and you're only catching little rats, these little scrawny 8 to 9 inches that have no coloration to them.
Totally.
But they're 7 miles apart. They're literally one mountain range over.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see like just how, and that's not even like a far travel, like how big of a difference that is. And
you just described our fishery here. There's one river with big fat wild browns, and there's another one with no or very little mayfly activity. And those fish struggle to grow despite a healthy caddisfly population.
Well, I mean, I feel like caddisflies are everywhere. Some of I fished. I had a guide trip last week, and we fished in the afternoon. I told the guys, like, let's just fish in the afternoon. Like, you want to see some bugs? Let's get on the water 2:00. 5:30 rolls around. Like, it should be, and that's what it was, man. I mean, there was every size and color caddis that you could imagine coming off the water, and these fish were we were just swinging these little sparkle pupas, and that's it. He was like, should I mend? I'm like, no, dude, just let it look as nasty as possible, skipping right underneath the surface. And they were just, I mean, we were breaking off more fish on the hook sets because he had just a little bit too much slack in that thing. So they would hit it, you would set the hook, and they were getting that shock break, But I mean, I was like, dude, this is awesome. Now, I mean, you're having these fish chase these bugs down. Like, this is fun. It's not just catching fish. Like, it's fun. Like, you are.
Yes.
What I was trying to tell him, like, something like a day like this is going to make you a better fisherman because you're not just roll casting and then looking up at the birds and going, oh shit, my indicator, and setting the hook.
Yeah.
You are dialed in. You are so focused on all of that, and you're taking all this information in. I was like, and this is just going to make you a better angler by understanding, again, the entomology. Why are we fishing this thing underneath the surface and not fishing one of the bugs on the surface? We see hundreds of thousands of bugs on top of the surface, but we're watching these very sharky splashes. And he was like, oh, we should. I'm like, no, swing them under the surface. This is what they're going after. This is what they're eating. So, and just, really dialing in that aspect of it. Like, and I think that's what really like kind of brought me into fly fishing. It's not just throw on this Senko, cast it out and count to 10, reel it in and do it again. It's like actually like, from 4:30 to 4:45. I mean, you can completely switch your tactic, and then 6:00 rolls around and you're fishing something else. 7:00 rolls around, you're fishing something else, and understanding all of that, is just blows my mind. So like one of the rivers that I fish is called Little Pine Creek, and it's in Central PA, and we go up Mother's Day every year. We leave like 1 or 2 days after Mother's Day. We fish the entire week, and we nymph most of the day. It is beautiful nymph water. But then 7:00 rolls around and the nymph rods go down, and we fish these little black caddises from about 7 to 7:30. And then 7:30 rolls around and you get these blue wing olives that come off. And we fish these little blue wing olive emergers. And then if we're lucky, by 8:00, clouds of green drakes come off. If it lines up right with the weather and the water, that 3rd week of May, 4th week of May is usually when we have it. We hit it perfect last year. I didn't catch a single fish on a green drake dry, but we had them all over the water. I mean, I have pictures of them like this big. I mean, they're landing on my hat. They're landing everywhere. But these fish were dialed in on a size 20 RS2.
Wow, that's funny, eh? Why were they not look at all this food, and they're like, nah.
Well, this one brook trout that I caught like this 16-inch brook trout, and I had him in
Yeah.
the net, and he just hit the eject button, and he was just regurgitating
Oh, yeah.
all over. And when I tell you there had to be thousands of these little tiny blue-wing olive emergers, and it's just like, okay, maybe we have 100 of these big bugs that are right here,
Yeah.
but one mouthful at the surface, he may be getting
True.
100 of those little ones. Because the amount that he spit up, I was just like, God damn.
So that was like a serious hatch. You know, this is like proper bugs, you know, that you
Oh,
read
this
about.
is like something, you know, when you walk in the Orbis store sometimes
Yeah.
and they have like the videos on the background.
Exactly.
This is what it looks like. You
Oh,
know,
man,
it was
that's so cool.
Crawling up, you're
Yeah.
crawling up your nose and all that good stuff.
yeah,
That's so
yeah.
cool, man.
That's so
Is that,
cool.
would you say that's like maybe your favorite hatch then, like of the year, or do you have another hatch that you dial in on a different water?
So like in New Jersey, we don't really get great hatches.
Okay.
You know, our water quality is shoddy at best. There's some good water systems that do have you know, pretty good bug life. Like we get a semi decent Hendrickson hatch. We get a really good sulfur hatch. But again, it's really short lived. And then everything else is caddis, some Baetis.
Yeah.
You know, but nothing like super consistent to where fish will shut down and only feed on one thing. So like when I want to do my dry fly fishing, I go out to Central PA. Just because that is just a different
Makes
beast.
sense. Yeah.
But yeah, I love that blue wing olive hatch and I love that green drake hatch. They just they all seem to kind of just like coincide, and a lot of it's just figuring out, do they want big or small? You know, so I mean, we may be fishing. Say we're fishing like a 70-yard glide between three of us. You know, somebody up front may be fishing a big bug, somebody in the middle may be swinging an emerger, swinging a wet fly, and then somebody at the bottom may be fishing a really tiny bug. And whoever's on more, we're just kind of like hollering back and forth to each other, just kind of what it is. You know, we can fish Monday and it's itty bitty stuff. We fish Tuesday and it's, you know, size 6 coffin flies. And then we fish Wednesday and they want zonkers. I don't know. Same conditions 3 days in a row, but
I think the knowing is just like knowing to be flexible, right? Because you never truly know. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, but I mean, also at the same time too, like I fish with a lot of older gentlemen, and I'll catch 20 fish, and he'll catch one, and he's okay with catching one fish on this one fly that he tied, and he'll just sit there and roast his little bowl, smoke a couple joints, and just wait. And I'm like, "You gonna fish?" And he goes, "Maybe." You know,
but it's also like it's fun to just watch for rises and just check out the activity, and like you say, think about the bugs and maybe look at some, and like it's a whole well-rounded experience, that side of fly fishing, which is so fun.
Like once you get past the catching aspect, you know what I mean? So I feel like everybody, when you first get into like fishing, like I want to catch every fish under the sun.
In the river, exactly.
I want to catch a million of them. I want to catch the big ones. And then I feel like there's comes like a point in your time where you're like, if I catch them, cool. But I'm here. You know, I'm not at work. I'm not cutting the grass. I'm not at, I don't know, T-ball practice. You know, I'm here kind of thing. And I feel like that's a really cool transition to get to. You know, and there's some days where I get on the water, I just grab the dog. You know, my dog comes everywhere with me. And we'll just walk and we'll explore and we'll turn over rocks. And if we catch a couple fish, we catch a couple fish. If not, and
just appreciate slowing down.
100%. Just kind of just, being present for 2 to 3 hours without any kind of distraction. You're 100% focused in that environment, that period of time. Everything else becomes obsolete. And I feel like that's one of the best medicines that you could do to the human mind.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Is that complete and utter disconnect, Yeah.
Completely. Just thinking about a bug.
Do we think, guys, question for both of you.
Shoot.
Do we think that, because it was such a big part of like even like magazines used to read growing up in those fly shops, like, do we think hatch chasing is kind of going away? Like, when you used to be like, oh, it's the Mother's Day. Like for me anyway, Mitch and I grew up in Ottawa here, and I always knew that there was on Canada Day, which is July 1st. There was always this epic caddis hatch on the Ottawa River, and the smallies would go nuts. And, around here, like the Hendricksons are about to start right now. And it's like, it's Hendrickson time. I love I love that time on the river. Do you think that's kind of going away? Like, do we, or no? Like, I feel like it's kind of going away in media. Like there used to be so many movies or whatever about hatches, but like, do we think that might be going away, or is that just a gut feeling of mine?
I think that competitive fly fishing killed that.
Yeah.
Right, so the introduction of the European nymph, right, and I'm going to be a hypocrite because I love
100%.
I love tight lining.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I love
I do
fun.
it. I love it. I catch a bunch of fish.
Yeah.
I love the tactical aspect of it. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I love just that, like, you know, looking at a section of a river, seeing 30 different currents,
Yeah.
you know, bunch of different eddies, bunch of different rocks, and going, okay, where is the fish at in here, right? And then how do I get this itty bitty bug to get down to the bottom, drag free, drift through that run, and then get the fish out of it, right? So I feel like
it becomes, sorry, just to cut you off, it almost becomes more about hydrology than anything, which actually it unveils another. Oh God, we could go down a whole other road here, but I'm gonna put a pin in it. But I feel like your level of understanding of hydrology and how the river works, and you're right. I started seeing rivers even more intricately or differently after Euro nymphing. But don't want to talk too much about Euro nymphing.
Yeah.
You know, we use it, we love it.
Yeah,
but
I think, but like to answer your question, right?
Yeah.
You know, prior to European nymphing, prior to this tight lining thing kind of booming, especially with the younger generation, right? You don't see a lot of older gentlemen doing it. I mean, occasionally, but you know, when you see somebody in their 30s and their 40s, 9.5 times out of 10, if they've been fishing for a while, they're not a weekend warrior. They got a long rod, right? They're fishing a 10-foot rod. You know, they're fishing an 11-foot rod, right? And they understand that, you know, at least in my region, you know, 90% of trout are eating underneath the water, right? And they're dialing in on that. They're capitalizing on that, and that's great. Mm-hmm. You don't have to match a hatch.
No.
I mean, look at a Tasmanian devil or a blowtorch.
Rainbow warrior.
A rainbow warrior, purple haze, right? Yeah. So you have a lot of these attractor patterns, and pretty much all you're doing is you're presenting whatever bug you want effectively, right? And that's something that I teach a lot when I'm on the water. Everyone's like, oh, well, what flies do you need? I was like, I fish 7 flies. I have 7 different patterns, different sizes, maybe a couple different color beads. But the premise of this is that you need to get this bug, it doesn't matter what it is, to look natural going through the water. Trout's brains are the size of a pea. If it looks semi-edible, he's going to put it in his mouth to see what it is. He doesn't have hands, right? He can't pick it up and look at it. You know, the first thing you do when you go into Orbis is you pick something up and you go, well, look at this, right? Yeah. Trout can't do that. So he goes, that kind of looks like a bug. Let me put it in my mouth. And then he's hooked, right? Yeah. But if it doesn't look natural, we're not going to touch it. Like if you walked into Orvis and a reel on the table was just spinning on the table like some possessed shit, I'm like, I ain't going near that goddamn thing, right? And I'm not touching that. Right? We're going to avoid it like the plague, right? Yeah, trout are going to do the same thing. So this kind of eliminates that need to really match the hatch until you start looking at emerging bugs, right? So let's look at the West Branch of the Delaware, right? Most people go to the West Branch of Delaware. They're not European nymphing. They're not fishing an indicator. Yeah. They're either throwing streamers for big trout or they're throwing dries. So that there, I feel like that region, they're really looking at matching the hatch. Right. You know, but other regions.
Yeah, it's more, it's like you say, it's a size and presentation thing, but you could probably get away with, you know, although it is really fun to like meet people on the river who've been fishing for 30 years. And they're like, this is the fly I tied based on a bug I saw. That, you know what I mean? And it's like a very specific like color way. Yeah. And I love that stuff.
And I do the same thing, right? Yeah. So I really did do the same thing. So we were fishing Little Pine Creek and we had these little blue wing olives coming off and I couldn't, for the life of me, couldn't catch them. So I tied on this little RS2, drifting it past him, and not a damn thing. And then this bug, I'll send you guys a picture of it. It is the perfect picture of a blue wing olive that I've ever got. And I realized how dark his wings were. You know what I mean? And I was fishing a very light colored CDC wing on the RS2. So I went back to the camper, and I always bring all my stuff with me. And in my camper, I don't know if I have it out here. Oh, I do. So in my camper, I had this stuff sitting right here, which is EP trigger point in this very dark slate color. And instead of using CDC for the wing, I used this dark color for the wing because it was the same exact color as the wing on these bugs. And the next day, whether it was just luck or I figured it out, We cleaned house.
Oh, dang.
Cleaned house.
That's sick.
And all we did was we changed the color of the wing. And I feel like that was, could it have just been luck? Could it have just been the day? Maybe.
Well-
I'm going to tell myself that I figured out, I cracked the code that time.
I think you did.
But it was, I do the same thing. You know what I mean? I have an eel pattern that I tie for stripers where I actually brought an eel home and I put it dead smack on my desk and just started playing with stuff until I got it down right. And then I got the sink rate down right, and I grabbed one of my buddies and I was like, look, let's go put the boat in tomorrow. Let's go fish this drop off. It goes from 50 foot, comes up to about 18 foot, and these stripers just stack on this thing, and they're eating eels.
Cool.
So we found a way to get this eel pattern down there, and it worked. And it was just one of those things where like all the pieces kind of came together because I put an eel on my desk and I duplicated it. All the pieces came together that here at Little Pine Creek because the bug happened to land on my hat and I grabbed it and I put it in my hand. I was like, wow, look how dark his wing is. That's a lot darker than the wing that I'm fishing. My wing probably looks almost white in the water. So I had this trigger point laying around in one of my bags and I was home like just trying to mess with stuff. I was actually getting ready to color CDC with like a gray Copic marker until I found this. And then I tied it on there. I was like, man, that looks good. And then the next day it was just lights out, which was really cool.
That's how you raise your chance of success, right? Matching the hatch. But to your point, you don't to get started, you don't have to go that deep. It's about size and presentation. That makes a lot of sense.
But it is fun to develop those things. But maybe this is a really good segue. When we first met Fritz, he was at the Denver Fly Fishing Show, which actually wasn't that long ago. It was a couple months ago. Which was, honestly, I had a lot of fun at that show. It was the first like fly fishing only show I've ever been to in my life. Like all the sports shows around here, they're, it's like fishing. It's actually, you can probably buy more things for your car than anything at our shows.
Toilets,
you can buy like combustible toilets and stuff, and like there's like a little bit of fishing. So it was cool to be at a show that was all fly fishing. But you were at the Norvice booth, which was cool, and your flies are awesome and mainly tiny streamers. So that might be a good segue to start talking about that part of your life. But real quick before that, we've got you fishing through, like college after college. When did guiding come into your life before, getting into like being, a tying ambassador, shall we say? Is that a fair thing to call you, a tying ambassador? Yeah.
Yeah, probably a couple years ago. I was always, believe it or not, I was always very self-conscious of my flies. I never wanted anybody to see them. I didn't want to be critiqued. I didn't want to pull it out and somebody go, "Oh my God!" And then it'd just be like the dagger to the heart. You know what I mean? So I was always very, very self-conscious of them. And then again, I was talking to Bart one day, and I was tying up a bunch of these. And so these are, this is mainly what I tie a lot of is these hollow flies, right? I tie them, and it's
so amazing.
Yeah, they're awesome.
This is my cash cow. I sell a lot of these.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the flies. But
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So, I was tying one of these up, and I was just playing with it at Orvis, and Bart comes in. He goes, "Let me see that thing," and I showed it to him, and he was like, "Dude," he said, "You should tie at one of the fly tying shows. You should come to the fly tying symposium." And I was like, I don't know about that, man. Like, thanks, but no thanks, And then I showed him my trout box, and he was like, "Dude, you should probably do this. Here's guy's information. Email him. You know what I mean? Send him a couple of pictures of your flies. You know what I mean? And go from there." And I did, and it just kind of snowballed. And then I got a job at Orvis. I was up there all the time, and the manager there at the time, his name was Bruce, and he asked me if I had any interest in helping out, just volunteering for one of the tying classes. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing anything that Saturday." I was like, "I'll come up and help you out." So it was like, "Cool, if you come up and help you out, we'll give you whatever discount something at the store that day if you need it." I'm like, "Yeah, sold, bro. Everything at this store is way out of my budget. So any kind of discount that I can get, great." I volunteered there for a couple days, and then the actual store manager there, Bruce was the fishing manager, the actual store manager, she was like, "How would you like to work here?" And I was like, I don't really have the time. You know what I mean? I work 5 days a week. The last thing I want to do is work Saturday and Sunday. Like, I don't need the money, but I love being here. She's like, why don't you 1 or 2 days a month? And I was like, okay.
Right.
And then
That's
it
cool.
just kind of like spiraled from there. Then I went and got my captain's license just because I wanted it. I just kind of just fell into the guiding thing. I mean, I'm an educator by trade. I
Right.
could teach. Mainly a
Right.
lot of what I do is, I'm teaching 2-year-olds with autism how to use AAC devices, sign language, other forms of communication.
That's cool.
So teaching somebody how to control a gross motor movement, you know what I mean, a neurotypical brain kind of seemed easy. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, if I could teach some of my kids to do stuff like this, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
So then Orvis was doing these 101 and 201 classes. So the guy who used to run the 101 classes, he was away for 2 weeks. So Bruce was like, hey, could you step in and, teach the 101 class? And I was like, sure, right? I don't really say no to anything. So I was like, yeah, I can do it. Never done it before.
Yeah.
And it went well. And then we did a 201 class. Like, our 201 class is, it's on the water. It's not necessarily a guide trip, but like what we do is we take 4 or 5 people to a pond and we take everything we learned at the 101 class, we put it together on the 201 class.
Right.
And I think this was maybe like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. One of the guys from the class was like, how much do I have to pay you to take me on a trout stream and teach me how to catch trout? And I was like, I don't know. What do you want to pay me?
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know. Does this number work? And I was like, sure. Can you go tomorrow? And he was like, yeah. So I just did my due diligence and see what I had to do to guide New Jersey, and pretty much all you need is liability insurance. So I
there you go.
grabbed liability insurance that night, and I just started taking people out on my own. And
That's
then
cool.
Bart introduced me to, there was a fly shop in North Jersey. It was called Shannon's. Very prestigious, just an old, kind of like what you think a fly shop should be.
Right.
Just grumpy
Is it still
old.
there?
Yeah, well, it actually got bought out by new owners, but
Okay.
it's just Shannon's used to be like what you think a fly shop should be: grumpy old men huddled around a vise, smoking cigars, telling fish stories. Just
That's Mitch.
just
That's Mitch.
just trout bums. That's
Yeah.
all this place was. Like, if you were under the age of 40, a woman or a child, you had no place in here.
Yeah.
You didn't. So the
Yeah.
owner of it, his name was Jim Holland, and he was a great dude. He ended up passing away, and this young couple, Lindsay and Abraham, they bought the shop and they changed it from Shannon's Fly Shop to South Branch Outfitters. And they wanted to kind of revamp a lot of the things and, kind of like make it a little bit more family friendly, a little bit more,
Yeah.
open to younger, people. So
What fly fishing has become, right?
yeah, so they reached out to a couple of the people that were working there, and they were like, "Do you know anybody that would be a good fit for a guide for, say, like, women, kids, families?" And Bart was like, "Fritz, that's what he does for a living." So he introduced me to them a couple of years ago, and for the past couple of years, I've been guiding for them.
That's great.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, I do a little bit of guide. I do some guiding for myself, but I like to promote the shop. So like, if people reach out to me and they're like, "Hey, man," I'm like, "Book it through the shop."
Yeah.
Kind of thing, because they scratch my back, I scratch theirs. And then and then it just ran from there. And so the first 2 years was, not slow, but not busy, but like,
Yeah.
the last 2 years, like this year, I've been super busy.
That's great.
Running between like 4 and 5 trips a week, plus everything else that I'm doing. Yeah. So
That's a lot.
yeah, it is. And what's nice is that like my job is really cool in the fact that like I'm essentially my own boss.
Okay.
My office is at my house. Everything I do is in home, and I kind of get to make my own schedule. So,
Yeah. That's
I
great.
try to leave myself some time open, during the week, to fish, with, clients and stuff, just because there's less people on the water.
Yeah.
So like tomorrow, I have a trip tomorrow morning. I have a trip Friday afternoon, and then I have 2 trips Saturday. But I love the week trips because there's nobody on the water. We have the whole river to ourselves. The Saturday stuff can get kind of finicky, especially if it's bluebird skies and
Right.
just
Yeah. Of
nice
course.
out. Everybody wants to be out.
Of
But
course.
like, my favorite days to guide on a Saturday are windy, rainy, cold, just
Yep.
ugly days. I'm like, we're gonna go catch 1,000 fish. We're not gonna see a person. Like, let's
Yeah.
go. Get a rain jacket, grab a coffee,
It's gonna be good.
and let's go have some fun.
Yeah.
And then the pike stuff. I usually do a lot of that like after I give like a presentation. I give a presentation, people are like, "Oh my god, that's awesome!" And I run a 16-foot jet boat, and then I also have a raft.
Sick.
16-foot jet, sick.
Yeah, my G3 is my baby. That thing is
Dang.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good time. And that thing, it's like people are in the boat, and I'm like, just don't look over the side, and they're like, why? It's like your butthole going pucker. I only need 3-4 inches of water, and we get to some
Wow.
of these rocks. I mean, we're hammered down.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we're hammered down. We got to get over. We may bump. Just hold on tight. Just don't look over the side. Is whatever you do. I tell them,
That
just don't look
sounds
over
so
the side.
fun.
Yeah.
It is a lot of fun. It's a good time.
Yeah.
And then I recently just bought a raft just to get to, like, in the summertime, this river gets really low. And there's certain sections that are completely closed off by down trees, and they may be like a mile long, so I can't get to them with the big boat. But I could throw a raft over a guardrail, and we could drift, paddle back, drift, paddle back, drift, paddle back, and just beat this mile stretch up for 4 or 5 hours. That is just cocked full of fish, and they can't go anywhere. They're trapped.
Right.
But yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
That's wicked. Yeah,
really
we
carved out a good little carved out a good
man.
life, man. Yeah. Getting the fish, getting the guide, getting the teach. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, no complaints over here, brother.
Yeah, we just got a raft, and oh man, we got a raft last season, and yeah, you're describing what we've got.
It's a game changer.
We don't have a whole lot of boat launches on our rivers up here, if any. So yeah, it's definitely the guardrail game.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and it's and it's crazy. It's like I was always so hesitant to buy one, right? Because I mean, I'm not a little dude, but I'm always just thinking like, how stable can these things really be? If I got like 200-pound dudes plus me in this raft, all going like this, but then you get in them, and I'm like,
stable as a table, man.
It is.
Oh,
they really are. And I can't get over how durable they are. You know what I mean? Like some of the stuff is just is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're cool.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of them. Like I have a lot of like really good ideas for what I want to use it for. As our season, kind of still progresses. We have a couple lakes around here, like a couple like bogs, I want to call them, that are loaded with snakehead.
Oh, cool.
That's
cool.
That is a good time.
That would be fun, man. I've never caught one.
Snakehead on a fly is a lot of fun.
They're so cool looking.
That's what I keep hearing.
They are. Yeah. What's really cool about them, man, is that like if you get them around like their spawning times, man, they are stupid aggressive. So, what the snakehead do is they guard their eggs in their fry. You know what I mean? And they'll sit staggered. So a lot of times what I'll do is like, I'll just be pulling the boat around or paddling and whatever, and I'm looking for them sitting staggered like this. And once I see them like that, like you're done, they will charge anything that goes near it.
No way.
Just not to eat it, just to kill it.
Yeah.
That is it. And that's like, you hear all these horror stories that they're coming into our fisheries and they're just decimating the populations. And while they are an apex predator, there's not much that can take them on. They may have, 2 or 3, like, they may reproduce 2 or 3 times a year with 120,000 eggs apiece. Wow. And they guard their fry. So it's not like they just have this egg and then, the bluegill come and eat them. You got 120 fish that are going to get this big before they kind of go out. So now your crappie, your bass, your everything else is eating them. So I just feel like it's, because we've had, they've been in our water system now, I'd say for probably about a decade to where they're like abundant. You know what I mean? We've heard stories like 15 years ago, like, hey, somebody caught a snakehead, and we're like, cool. Now, they're pretty abundant, but I haven't seen like a decrease, especially in our bait fish population, like our sunnies, our crappie, things like that. Definitely not our shad populations. And then like I also don't see any like size or number decrease in like our largemouth populations. Yeah. And there's certain holes that I fish where I'll lay a popper out there, pop it, largemouth. Same hole, cast again, crappie. Same hole, snakehead. So they're all coming out of the same.
They're not even like together.
Yeah. Off the same tree, off the same sunken tree, they're coming off of it. So, some people kill them. Our state wants you to kill them. Like Maryland, they were actually paying you for the heads at one point. Whoa, so, like if you cut the heads off and put them in a bucket and you brought them to fishing game, they were giving you like $20 a head. What? Or something like,
That's
just to
pretty
like
good.
just an
Poor
incentive.
fish. The poor snakehead.
I know,
It's
just
like,
an
oh, I
incentive.
gotta go down to Maryland on a Saturday
Yeah,
and make a
start
couple
roping
$100.
snakeheads.
Yeah, right, dude. Just
Yeah.
like running
Times are
long
tough,
lines
brother.
and like trout lines for snakehead. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just setting them up. But
Yeah.
yeah, they were doing the same thing up here in New Jersey. They weren't paying you,
Yeah.
but they were saying like if you catch one, you have to kill it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm
No.
not killing
Yeah.
something just
No.
especially without any science behind
Yeah,
it. Like
exactly.
nobody studied this. This is
Of
just
course.
all hearsay.
Kill
They're like,
'em.
oh, snakehead are bad. Chop their heads off. I
It's
was
just
like,
bullshit rhetoric. Yeah.
Yeah,
People
I'm
just
not-
saying like, yeah.
I'm not doing that.
I'm with ya.
I have fun. I think they're a blast to catch. They really are, and they're eager to eat. They live in some very tight, locations, which makes them like hard to get to.
Yeah.
But like again, going back to the raft scenario, like there's a couple little ponds, and I mean, I'm going to call them bogs because that's what they are. That I can't wait to put this little raft in and be able to paddle back there and get to them. I've tried to do it with a kayak, but I mean, my kayak is, hard. Like I'm sitting down and cast it, but like now I can stand up and I really can, get a decent
Deliver a
cast
fly,
where
yeah.
I'm not like wobbly, so yeah, like the next month or two, man, I'm really looking forward to using that thing for stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you have a really like, between obviously Pennsylvania and New Jersey, or like your area is like, man, you're
Yeah.
some serious multi-species action.
Yeah. We haven't even
Including-
really talked about like stripers in detail, but like,
So everybody knocks New Jersey, right? They're like, oh my God, there's trout
Do they
in New
like?
Jersey.
I mean, I just have never really,
So-
aside from stripers, talked about.
Most people think of New Jersey as like a mini New York, right?
Right.
Everybody thinks it's this very, and it is densely populated in certain areas of the state, but everybody just thinks of it as this mini New York, this metropolitan area, just, arrogant asshole people. And to some extent, they're not wrong, right?
Yeah.
But then there's other parts of the state that are just, beautiful.
Yeah.
Like where I grew up like right outside of like a farm town. So like when
Right.
I was up in college and I'd caught people, friends from, Staten Island and Brooklyn, and I'm like, oh, why don't you come down and spend the weekend down at, my parents' house with me? And we would get off the turnpike and they're like, where's the stores? Where's everything? Or like all I see is like farms and is that a cow? And I'm like, that in fact is a cow. That's a horse. If we keep going around until we might see a sheep,
Yeah.
You got to keep your high beams on at night because there's a chance that you may run over a llama. I mean, there's funny shit down here.
Yeah.
But like New Jersey's really cool because I can go catch a brook trout at 9 a.m. and go catch a striper at 10 a.m.
That's so weird.
I can drive an hour and catch a native brook trout and then go catch a striper.
That's so cool.
I mean, that's a really, really.
I never
cool
thought about Jersey in that way either,
idea.
to be honest.
Yeah.
I never thought about it in that way. Trout and then a striper. I'm like,
I definitely thought striper when it comes to
Yeah.
I mean, we get an amazing striper run, especially in the fall. The fall is just stupid. But I want to say in our little state, I think there's 107 wild trout streams. And there may be more, but I think 107 documented ones. And I think there's 36 of them that are designated Class A, which means that they have I forget what the criteria for it is, but I mean an X number of fish, like when they do their electroshock, you can say X number of fish per mile over a certain inch is what delineates it as a Class A. I forget, might have read something like that somewhere, but like Class A being like that's a good trout stream, right? That's got some numbers, it's got some big fish, and I want to say there's 30 something of them.
That's really really cool. Yeah, I definitely, my brain didn't go that way. When it came to Jersey, but it kind of makes sense, the way the water table's running down to, the bay and then the ocean. Like, I mean, why not?
We got the Appalachian Mountains that run right through the northwest part of our state.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So you get all of that cold water that comes off the mountains. You get a lot of these, not high altitude compared to, some of the other areas of the country, maybe where you guys are from, but like for us, high altitude, to where they can hold that native brook trout population.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple streams that have really good, populations of wild browns, and there's a couple rivers that actually have, reproducing rainbow trout that are, I mean, they're this big, but they're some of the most beautiful fish you've ever seen. And it's really cool that we have that. Like, I mean, there's certain days where I can go catch a wild brown, a wild rainbow, and a native brook trout all in the same day in New Jersey, which is You know,
That's
people
pretty
don't
rad.
understand that. Yeah,
Yeah.
And you've got bass fishing, and you've got snakehead and
everything.
Everything.
and pike.
I mean, everything.
Pike
You
too.
got pike. I mean, we have. I mean, if you really wanted to like explore the upper sections of the Delaware River by New Jersey, I mean, you get great muskie. There's a couple really good lakes that have an abundance of muskie in them. And
That's cool.
the gear guys do really well with them.
Yeah.
They really do. The lakes I find, you know, I get frustrated. You know, I like moving water.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a still water kind of guy.
Mhm.
I like the moving water. I like fishing. I like fishing streams. I like fishing rivers. The gear guys do really well with the muskie because they can. I mean, they can get a crankbait down 20 feet right above that grass line and be able to pull them out. Or they're, you know what I mean. They're live lining suckers, you know, in 10, 15 feet of water, and they do great with them. But I mean, there's nothing that you really can't do where we're at. You know, if you were to put a 3 hour, like a 3 hour radius right around where I'm at, I mean, world renowned fisheries. I mean, I have a world renowned striper fishery. In 3 hours, I can get to the Catskills. And I have world renowned, you know,
Yeah, it's not
fishing
that
up
far.
there.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, it's a good point.
if I go west, I got the Yellow Breeches, I got Penns Creek, I got Spring Creek. You know what I mean? I have all of those, like all the Joe Humphrey streams. You know what I mean? From there, and then if I go 3 hours south, I'm into the Chesapeake, which again, you're talking world renowned striper fishery.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in a 3 hour bubble on a Saturday, I mean, I can go do anything that I want.
Yeah, that's rad, man. I'm just looking at it on a map.
I know we're kind of like I'm just like
Just like-
in Google Maps, just like whoa. Because
what was the name of that one river that you said? Drop a pin.
3
right
hours
here.
from sorry where? Yeah.
I mean from Toronto. I mean maybe
What's the latitude and longitude?
Yeah,
on the Passaic River.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean we should jam down one weekend and come hang because you know we're an 8-hour drive, brother.
That'd be sick. Yeah.
You guys can stay right with me. I got the boat as long as you guys don't mind dogs. I got a couple pups, but
Definitely don't
Mind dogs. Come on, brother.
mind dogs.
Hey,
I got a blue healer. I got a blue healer myself.
Nice. My little guy Harry, he's some kind of Australian cattle dog. He's a rescue from somewhere down in Alabama.
Yeah, mine's a rescue too. There's a couple of things happening there, but you know.
Yeah,
Awesome.
he was a feral dog. I mean, he was born in the wild, and you know,
That's
But
so wild.
now he's my little fishing buddy. I mean, he's literally like rags to riches. Like he was living in a hole underneath a piece of wood with no fur, covered in mange, all types of parasites. Now he sleeps in a king bed. He comes to work with me. He goes on guide trips. I mean, I make him scrambled eggs like 3 days a week just because. It's because I'm in the kitchen and he's looking at me like, "Oh, you want an egg, buddy? Okay, dude. Daddy, scramble you up an egg real quick. You want some cheese too? All right, let's throw some cheese in there. You want the smoked Gouda?
I'm with you. Like they don't live that long. Like as long as they're healthy and getting exercise, like you can have the scrambled egg.
It's funny. My dad
the chicken, you know.
My dad said something one day. We coming home from a bar. You know, my dad like rushed in the house and jumped up, gave the dog a hug, patting him, stuff like that. My mom was like, "You don't fucking look at me like that anymore." And my dad was like, "I'm gonna lay a scenario on you." He said, "If I tied you up and taped your mouth shut and threw you in the trunk of the car and drove you around for an hour, and then I opened up the trunk of the car and I untied you, said, what would you do?" She was like, "I'd probably slap you in the face." He goes, "Okay."
Yeah.
If I tied the dog up and I taped the dog's mouth shut and I threw him in the trunk of the car and I drove him around for an hour and I opened up the trunk of the car and I untaped your mouth, what do you know he's going to do? He's going to kiss my face.
Yeah.
And like, he said that to me. He said that and I was sitting on the couch and I'm like, damn, my man's got a point. You know, like, my man's got a solid point.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not sure where your fantasies are going here, but totally good point. These are good points, Dad.
I understand why. You know, we are the way we are with dogs.
Oh, I know.
They're just pure. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't ever have a bad day.
Yeah.
You know, like it doesn't matter what it is. I can walk out to my truck because I forgot my charger and I come back in and it is like God himself just came through the door. Yep. And then I forgot my shoes and I go do it again and I've been going like 9 seconds and it's the same reaction every single time.
And talk about watching dry flies and watching rises. Frank, that's like one of Frankie's favorite pastimes. She just like sits on the shore. There's this one little stretch where we go to with like, there's like a billion brookies that are like the size of our fingers and they're just every day you're there, they're just going nuts on whatever, you know, as brookies sometimes do. And she's just like on the side of the river, like, looking left, looking right, it's pretty cute. I was like, right on. She's a fish dog.
She's a fish dog.
Harry tries to catch them. Like I'll turn
Oh, yeah.
around and he's
Trying to
yeah,
one bite them.
he's trying to grab the bugs out of the air. It's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
cool
yeah,
to see.
for
That's
sure.
funny.
Yeah, awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
Fritz, I know we didn't get into the pike, but I think we might have to have you back on because we're already at an hour here, which brings us to
Wow.
Yeah, Mitch's Fishes 5. We have 5 final questions that we ask every guest at the end of the show, Fritz.
All right.
And so we're gonna ask them to you now, and then like Aldo says, we gotta do another show about other stuff because there's a lot of stuff.
Come on, whenever you want, man. These are fun.
It'd be fun to
Love it.
come down there, and if you ever want to come up here and chase pike with us, like or whatever,
do a little live show.
Yeah.
Do a show,
Oh my God.
in person, or on the water.
You say you tell me the date and I'm there.
Okay,
Well,
I am there, man. I got my passport renewed. We're ready to go.
Perfect.
Ready to
Okay.
go.
Mitch's Fishies 5. The first of Mitch's Fishies 5 is what is your favorite fish and why? You
Brook
had to pick a
trout.
favorite fish. Oh, there we go.
Brook trout.
Easy.
I mean, I have 3 of them tattooed on me.
Oh yeah.
I love the colors on them.
Yeah.
I just think they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome that they've been here since like the beginning of time. That's it's cool. It's like I read something one day is like, if you they were looking at the Great Smoky Mountains down in North Carolina.
Okay.
And the Great Smoky Mountains down in North Carolina, and I forget what the mountain range is in Ireland. They have the same rocks.
Yeah.
Right? The same rocks. And then there's certain brook trout that have the same genetic makeup as trout in Ireland.
Oh wow.
Because that's where like Pangea split.
Right.
Right? Like that's
crazy. What?
Right? Like that's amazing to me. That is cool.
It's a dinosaur,
Yeah, but they're also like the pit bull of the trout world. They're just aggressive, you know what I mean? They get spunky when they get big. I'm a brook trout junkie. And I love where they live. They live in some of the most beautiful stretches of water in the world.
Legit.
But brook trout through and through.
Oh, I love it, man. They're the just craziest looking fish, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll stop and look at the blue on them and I'm like, right. You sometimes miss it because they're so green and orange and red. Those little blue dots, I'm like, God, like the colors are just crazy on these things.
When
man.
you get the red dot with the blue halo, and then there's like, if you really look, there's like also a little white ring that separates the two. It's just like
it's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. So gnarly. And then you get some of those really like colored up, like fins where they're like the orange with like the black swirls in them. Yeah. And I love when they get real big and they get that black head and that black mouth.
Oh yeah.
Oh, just the dark that it's like it's blacker than black. It's like the absence of light. It's like
a black hole. Yeah. Or what's that? What's that color that they came out with? It's like something black, but it's just like
it's like the
blackest paint. Yeah, what's it called?
Yeah, where like you can't see the car, like it's invisible at night.
Yeah.
Now I gotta look.
Vanta black.
Yes.
Vanta. I have a tube of paint that's Vanta black.
Whoa,
that's cool. I feel you, man. Brook trout. I love it. Okay. Number 2. If you could fish anywhere in the world right now, assuming it's going to be the best time to go there, where would you go and why?
Probably Patagonia.
Yeah, that's
great. Probably go down to Patagonia. I was supposed to go down with Tim Fly. Supposed to be down there like last week. Supposed to be down there with Tim Fly. Yeah. But I didn't have anybody to watch my dogs. My parents were in Rome and Italy, and they just took this awesome cruise. And my mom just retired, and you know what I mean? They've been like saving up to do it. So I didn't want to I was like, I'll go next year. But
you're like, Mom,
the trip, I forget the name of the river, but the trip that I want to go on. So Tim goes down there for 3 weeks. And the last week of the trip every year, it's like a float and camp trip. I forget what the name of the river, but you are in like the wilderness.
Oh man.
And a group of dudes float down in the morning and they go down like say 8 to 10 miles and they set up camp, and you float down with your guide and you fish all day until you get to camp. And when you get there, I'm talking like it is like they're making you like gourmet meals right on the side of the river. You wake up, they make you this amazing breakfast, South American coffee. They break down camp and just drift down again, and you fish down and you go down to the next one. And it's 4 or 5 days. And that is my bucket list trip. And next year I will be on it. I already told my parents, I was like, the last week of April, you're not doing shit. You're watching my dogs, and I'm going to Patagonia.
Oh man,
But yeah, Patagonia.
it's a great answer. I mean, that sounds like the most epic trip. Okay, number 3 is, what is one of your best or favorite fishing memories of all time?
Man, that's a hard one.
There's so many.
So I would have to say every year, me and a group of my buddies, we go up to Little Pine and Pine Creek. Like I said, right after Mother's Day, and it's not just the fish, but just the camaraderie.
Yeah.
So we all live all over the area. My one buddy lives out in State College, which is 5 hours from me. His brother lives in Du Bois, which is another hour. My one buddy Steve lives an hour north of me, and then my buddy Justin lives about an hour and a half west of me. And we get together occasionally, but then every year, like, this is our trip for 5 or 6 days. We just kind of go and fish and we hang out and we camp. And every year, it just gets kind of better and better. The stories get better. The camaraderie gets better. My buddy Steve brought his kids last year, so we got to watch them catch trout. And it just that week every year, I think, is what I look forward to most out of all 365 days. But I mean, like I said, it's not just the fishing. It's just, it's probably some of the most wholesome 5 days that we have every year.
Yeah.
And I really look forward to that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the reoccurring. You do it every year,
Nice little tradition.
Yeah,
it's kind of like your birthday, Mitch. We go to Mitch's family cottage on his birthday, which kind of usually coincides with bass opener up here, and we fish largemouth.
Tradition's nice, man. We need.
Yeah, and I like it because it gives us something to look forward to. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But like we were talking about before, like, I've caught huge fish. I've caught tarpon. I've caught sharks. I've caught, everything under the sun. You know what I mean? If it swims, I try to catch it. And like, I mean, I could tell you awesome stories about trout, awesome stories about because I lived in Florida for a year or two.
Yeah.
So all the fish that I got to chase down there, I've been to the Bahamas fishing, I've been to Canada fishing. I get stories about all of it. Right. And they're all like fishing stories and they're great. But like that camaraderie around a campfire at 10 o'clock at night, just the belly laughs, you know what I mean? And watching, like, my buddy Steve's kids just, having a field day, you know what I mean? Turning over rocks and skipping across the water. Like, I mean, there ain't a fish in the world that can beat that,
100%, man.
Damn.
I love it.
That was a great way to wrap that thought up.
Yeah.
Ain't a fish in the world that's going to beat that.
No.
Put that on a t-shirt.
We will.
Because if you make a lot of money off it, just remember, I don't need much, man. I don't need a lot. I just need a little bit.
I love it. Okay, number 4, Mitch's Fishies 5 is, why do you fly fish? I mean, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but yeah, why do you fly fish? Why do you go back out there, and what keeps you going back?
I think I like the challenge. I like that it's a never-ending wormhole. I don't think that you could ever, touch on all of it. I cast every day. Every single day, I grab the dogs and I get home. We go over to the field and I cast for 20 minutes while they run around this field. Or we go to the pond and I catch a couple sunnies. And it's just, I think every time I get on the water, it's a learning experience. And something that I reiterate to, like, a lot of my clients that I bring out on the trout stream is that, like, you may fish this today, right? You come back tomorrow, it's a different river. The CFS may have dropped, 100 CFS. Now all those fish have moved. Right? The water temperature may have changed. More bugs may be coming off. Every time you come to this river, it is a completely different river. You may fish the same runs, but it's a different run every time you fish it. So I like that constant changing. I like the constant, everything is fluid. Nothing is ever the same. I think I like that aspect of it. And I just like that I like learning. I genuinely enjoy learning. I genuinely enjoy that aspect of life. And I think that there's always something to perfect in this sport. And there's always just a different way that you could do things, a different way that you could learn something. I mean, there's a different way that you could tie a fly. There's a different way that you can cast a rod. I mean, you could swing streamers all day and then you see somebody doing like a micro spay and you're like, never done that before. And then it just opens up the whole wormhole of spay casting, right? And then you're at the beach and you're watching a guy use a switch rod and he's just chucking 100-foot of line out like it looks like nothing, and he's catching fish in the breakers. And that just opens up a whole new realm of everything. Like, I just love that it's just never ending. There's always something to learn. There's always something new. And everybody does it a different way. So everybody that you talk to on a river that you can learn from. Somebody who's been fishing for 10 days could teach me something, and I've been doing it for 20 years. And I love that aspect of it too.
Yeah, no, it's 100%. Fly fishing so deep, never stops.
Yeah.
Okay, the last Mitch's Fishes 5 is if you were a fly pattern, what would you be?
Which we did ask us
You
to
did
do in
ask
Denver.
We did. But don't
You
worry about
did.
that. You know, what fly pattern represents you best and why? Because there was a lot of stuff going on, but maybe it's the same
There were
one. I don't know.
Norvices flying around the place.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I think a lot of it's still going to be the same, man. I think I'm a pretty bold individual. I think I would say. I have a personality. I'm very outspoken. I'm very just kind of bold. So I mean, something that's bold, I would go with like a T-bone.
Yeah.
Something Buford's big,
Yeah, that's what.
flashy,
Yeah.
just kind of. When that enters the room, it's there, kind of thing.
I love it.
Yeah, and like the fact is, I like tying them. Like I like tying with natural materials. Like I love tying with bucktail. I mean, just sitting next to me at any given time is just a handful
Piles of bucktail.
piles. I mean, just literally everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say probably either Buford or T-bone, just a big, obnoxious, furry thing.
I love it. Good
That's
old
awesome.
T-bone. That's the show, brother. I mean,
Man,
thanks
this
for
has
coming
been-
on.
Yeah,
It's been fun.
I had a
man. Just
lot
getting
of
to hear it
fun. I
all.
really did.
I'm glad.
That's wicked.
Because it was cool to dive into your fly fishing life and here. Obviously, there's so much going on down in there in Jersey. So yeah, we gotta link up. That'd be fun.
We never chatted about Jersey before, so
No.
I think that's really cool because I know
Super
we
cool.
had a bit of a plan coming into the show, and once we started talking more about Jersey, I was just like, okay, well,
Started to just unravel.
scrap this plan, and so it was really cool to hear about Jersey. But where it's shameless plug time, like where can people find you? How can they book you? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, so Instagram is, I think everybody's, cash cow. So Instagram is probably the easiest way to kind of find me. I have links to my Etsy and my online fly shop there, which is Lateral Lines Fly Fishing. Most of my guide stuff, anybody that watches and wants to book something with me, I said I push most of my stuff through South Branch Outfitters and Califon. But if, they were unaware, like how to either find them or do that, if they were to reach out to me directly, I could, easily set them up through the process and get them going through there. Or if you're in the area and you want to stop in at Orvis, I'm there every other Sunday in Princeton, New Jersey. Pop in and say hi.
There you go.
I'll teach you how to tie fly. We'll go outside and go cast some rods. We'll go have some fun.
Boom.
Princeton, New Jersey. There you go. And are you going to be back? Do you think maybe it's too early to tell? Are you going to do the fly fishing show circuit again?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there you go.
I think I did 7 shows this year. I did a lot of them. I did more than I expected. Denver might have been my favorite one. I think if
it was
I were
pretty
to go
fun.
Back, yeah, I told them last year though, like if I was going to go back to Denver, there would be one day where I don't want to sit at the table. Because you guys seen how busy it was. Like
oh my God.
The second day I sat down at 8:00 and I think I got up to eat at 3:30. I didn't see much of there. Like I had no idea that, Fish Pond brought a whole bus.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Someone was like, "Hey, did you go into the Fish Pond bus?" And I'm like, "Come again?" And they're like, "Yeah, they had a whole bus." I'm like, didn't even make it over there. But that was a very busy show. But it was really cool. I met a lot of really cool people there.
Yes.
And like people that I still stay in touch with, like you guys. And then I met some dudes from a fly shop out there called the Canyon Fly Shop. Canyon Fly Shop. And I talk to him probably once or twice a week.
Yeah.
Just because we cross paths, and
you just
we
link
just
up
got to
and
talking, and we're always chatting on Instagram, and
yeah.
And I think that's one of my favorite things about the shows is just the networking aspect of it in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will definitely be in Denver again next year. That was my favorite one.
Sick, man.
How far is that from you guys?
Well, it's what was it, like a 4-hour flight we took?
But it was direct, so it's all good.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was easy. Hopped on a flight at night, a couple of beers, done. We're there.
I have to imagine, probably the same flight time as y'all.
I think about 5. I think Denver for me is like 4.5, 5. Which really, again, it's not bad. It's I did a couple, Sudokus, watched a half a movie and took a snooze, woke up, and I was like, "Hey, Denver."
Hey, Denver.
Pretty much. But I think next year, like I said, is I want to spend more time out there. You know what I mean? Just because you get off the plane and you look around, it's the most beautiful place in the world. And
Yeah.
then like where the show is in like this,
Yeah.
not even a 5-star. It's like a 12-star ski resort, like
Yeah, that
something
place
that
is
I've never
crazy.
seen.
I
So
know. I
yeah,
kind of,
It
if
was
we could ever afford it,
huge.
I'd be down to stay there. But
Yeah.
but man, the
yeah,
nightly rate
that's
was something
like
else.
5 and change, and that's for
Yeah.
like their like basement room with mold.
Yeah, you gotta
God
do a little
forbid.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, have to
Yeah.
spackle the gunshot hole in the wall, if you want to stay
Yeah.
there. But
That place is
um,
crazy.
yeah, I genuinely enjoyed that show. I enjoyed all of
Yeah.
them. I went to my favorite those. I went down to Arkansas. I went down to Salbug. And that was unique. I got
Yeah.
to fish the White River, which was really cool.
That's cool.
I caught my first cutthroat down there, which was really neat.
Yeah.
That's where I caught my first cutthroat.
Oh, no
I
way.
had no idea. I had no idea
I had
that
no
there
idea
was.
either.
So I caught this first fish, and I'm looking. I was like, man, that does not look like a rainbow. It's kind
Yeah.
of like had this like pale to it, and I seen the orange on like the gill plate underneath. And I let it go, and one of my buddies who actually is from New Jersey, he took a job. He does like product design for Bass Pro Shops, so they actually have him in Missouri
Okay.
at their flagship thing. So he does like wader design, boot design. Right, we're starting to work on like rod design. Like that's
cool.
what he went to college for, and Bass Pro Shop picked him up. So I called him. I was like, "Hey man, I think I'm like 2 hours from you. Come down to Mountain Home, Arkansas, and come fishing with me." So he shot down for the day. And what I liked about that show is at 4 o'clock it's done. You know.
Right.
So you still have 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon to do stuff. Some of the other shows they end at 5:30. By the time that you get out of there, it's January, so it's dark.
Yeah.
So we got to fish until 7. So like I caught the one fish and let it go, and then he came up to me and was like, "How you doing?" I was like, "I just caught one," and then instantly hooked another one. He was like, "Oh, it's a cutthroat," and I'm like, "No shit." I was like, "This is my second one." I was like, "I had no idea. I just thought it was an ugly rainbow."
I didn't know there was cutties in the White River. Yeah, that's crazy.
No, yeah, and that's what he's telling me, that they stocked them in there whenever ago, and they just kind of took hold.
Well, I think it had a lot to do with actually Dave Whitlock. He had a
really?
big like cutthroat rearing program in the Norfolk, which
which is right from one of the other reservoirs.
Where the white exactly, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
which I believe the Norfolk, if I'm not mistaken, it does connect with the White River at some point.
Yeah, I think downstream a little bit. I want to say the White River comes out of Bull Shoal Reservoir, and the Norfolk comes out of another one. And I think they kind of like meander down a little bit, and there's a junction at some point. But yeah, somebody was telling me about that there, that he had a pretty big influence on that. And then just the water that comes out of those reservoirs is
frigid,
gin clear and cold.
That's so cool, man.
Like the bug life down there, man, was like something I had never seen. Just some of the scuds too. Like I'm used to seeing like scuds like maybe the size of my pinky now. Like I mean, they weren't even scuds; they were shrimp.
Crazy,
that's what they're eating, these massive scuds. And I was like, man, that is wild to see. Just it was such
What
a cool
a fishery.
it's an amazing fishery.
Yeah.
I wish I had more time down there to like mouse it at night.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, but that would have been amazing. But like I know me, because if I would have booked somebody to do that, I'd have fished from like 11 till 7, and then I'd have been a zombie running the Norvice booth the next day. And
yeah,
I don't think they'd have been too happy. Like, this is a Norvice, I tried to be responsible while I was there.
No, that's always good. I mean, yeah, brother, this has been really fun to chat, and definitely we got to do something again. Because there's just so many avenues we can go down. But thanks so much for coming on. Thank you so much.
Anytime you guys want, give me a holler. Seriously.
Love it. All right.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks, Fritz. Thanks so much.
All right, man. Enjoy the rest of your evening, guys.
Yeah, you too.
Wow, what a great guy.
I mean, yeah, I loved talking about it's something I've been thinking about, especially this time of year in May, because there's so many hatches popping off in Ontario.
Yeah.
That it's like, hey, do people even care about hatches anymore?
They should. They should. It's a side of fly fishing that's just so special and fun. It's like it uncovers, I think, what Fritz was talking about with like if he could go back and do it again, he'd go into like aquatic insects, like entomology and aquatic entomology. And it's like, it's just a side of fishing that's so special. I mean, I know some of the rivers that we fish don't necessarily have the hatches like they used to. So I think that probably has something to do with people's maybe dwindling interest in it. But there's still tons of nymphs, and also there's lots of places to fish with, coveted hatches. But I think it just sharpens your how she do as an angler.
Well, I think it gives you a more holistic understanding of the river ecosystem. because you're
Fish
looking
eat
at it.
bugs,
Fish eat
especially
bugs.
trout. Especially trout.
Mm-hmm.
And
And it's
yeah.
just like, yeah, you see you get taken back to that first moment when you flip your first rock and you're like, whoa, there's a whole world under here.
That's what's so fun about fly fishing. It's the holistic connection of all environments, ecosystems to get a fish on your line. I think that effort is a fun one. But anyways, it was really cool to chat about that with Fritz. And I know he recently did his trip that he was talking about to that river that he goes back to every year with his friends during that hatch in May. And some of the pictures look beautiful. You can see it on his Instagram. What's his Instagram again? I know he's just said it at the end of the thing, and I'll pull it up. But oh yeah, he is definitely worth checking out on Instagram because
trout something. Trout
it's actually
river Jesus. So what is it?
Oh man, I just had it. Anyways, don't worry about it. He just said it. Oh yeah, lateral lines fly tying because he's a crazy good fly tyer.
Oh my
lateral
god,
lines fly.
I mean, that's how we met him.
That's how we met him. Yeah, he was like tying flies and massive, musky flies at the booth there at the fly show. But yeah, you can see these pictures from this place that he goes to, and it's the most idyllic place.
Yeah,
like look at this place. I'm just like, that is the trout river that that Steve Raymond talked about, the trout river of my mind. My memories. It's like this is where I want to go in my dreams because it's just so friggin' beautiful. Oh my God. But anyways, Fritz, thank you for chatting. It was great. Well, what do we got coming up?
Well, as this is coming out, I will be off grid with Idas, Mitch Beaumile of North Country Media House, Ryan, formerly of Coup d'Etat, and Brian Stillwater. We're going to be up in Georgian Bay. Hopefully, while you're listening to this, I'm strapped into a pike the size of me.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Future me is definitely hoping that.
Yeah.
But really excited to see, I've heard nothing. I know Rob at Drift has fished with Brian several times, and he's
Great
just
things.
says he's just to the moon.
Yeah.
Not only the fishery, but also Brian in general. And so,
nice guy.
Yeah. And I've just seen great pictures of Ryan's camp, and I'm really excited to just
I know I want to come.
There's
when you guys are like no lights and stuff, I'm like, sounds awesome. I just want to sit.
There is solar power. There are
lights.
There's a few lights, but we're bringing. But yeah, it's basically an off-grid cabin.
Nighttime hangs, drinking muskokes, looking at the moon after a day of fishing. I just love those moments with us.
I know.
They're the most
Ontario,
fun.
Baby.
Well, we'll have another shot at that together, right? Really soon.
I don't know. I don't think. I think this is the last one.
What?
Yeah.
I'm not going. I got to go away for work. That's why I'm
what
not
if
going.
Future me, like, I don't know,
not
gets
opting
eaten
out of
by
this.
a pike?
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Well, that's what we got going on. I just got back from Belize. I've never been hotter in my life.
Dude, you look it.
Yeah.
You look like a hot guy.
I was a hot guy. I was like, Rob looked at me at one point because I could hear, I had him mic'd up on the different boat because I was shooting mainly.
Yeah.
And then when we were catching anything, I had to start fishing, which was great because I caught my PB Barracuda.
Yeah, that's sick. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Super rad. But you guys had like Saharan sands to compete with. I mean, that sounds hot right there.
Yeah, two things that were interesting is one, there was like this forest fiery haze every day. And so I finally asked the guide, I was like, is there a wildfire that you should know about, And he goes, no, it's actually sand from the Sahara Desert, which if you've watched Planet Earth, which I have heard of the sands of the Amazon or the sands of the Sahara helping fertilize the Amazon.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. But then, yeah, there was like there was a sand forecast. You can look it up.
So crazy, man. It's so cool.
It was so cool. But yeah, I didn't realize it would blow that far north. Not that we're like north, but we're definitely north of Brazil and the Amazon. And, but yeah, where we were in Placentia, we were pretty close to Guatemala.
I guess it says something about like the size of the Sahara Desert too, that there's so much sand there. It gets picked up and thrown around the earth,
Yes.
It's wild.
It's wild. And I think we just had unfavorable winds. Like we had an pretty strong onshore wind that was just keeping the sand around. But then that sixth day, it cleared up. And that sixth day, we found a lot of fish. Because we couldn't see. Cool. We couldn't spot fish.
Yeah.
So if they weren't tailing, we were fucked.
Yeah.
And, they don't always tail. So, yeah. But I mean, tarpon were hooked. Tarpon were lost. But the one time we saw a permit, this guy, one of the guests, Ken, was an amazing artist, by the way.
Yeah.
And just a great human being. Yeah, he saw a permit, cast to it at 8.
That's
what are the odds of that? Low.
That's
by
why
the way.
Never happens, yeah.
He landed it.
The fish did the thing.
Yeah, and he landed it, and I was there with the underwater housing. It was like, oh my god, it was amazing.
It's awesome, man.
But it was one. We went up this river for tarpon to go look for tarpon.
Yeah,
it's like estuary, like mixed fresh and salt water.
Yeah,
and my phone said it was 45 degrees. All the cameras shut off. They were just like, nah.
45.
They're like, no. Only the GoPros were like, oh, we got this.
What?
The cameras were like, no, thank you.
Dude, that's crazy.
I've never been hotter, man. Like I was like just standing on the bow with the camera, dumping sweat.
45 Celsius.
Rob's just on the bow, just hawking casts into the jungle. You could hear
113.
Yeah, it was wild, man. Like it was so humid, and we were like,
Lord.
You could hear, it was crazy. You could hear howler monkeys off in the distance. It really made me want to go, like, into the jungle.
Into the jungle.
I was like, I was like, wow, I really want to go. I've always wanted to go for peacock bass. Now I like,
Can you fish peacock bass there, like in the jungle?
I asked that, and they said although there are many species of cichlids.
Yeah,
there aren't any peacock bass, at least in Placentia.
But I think
if you went deep into the jungle, you could. But we were fishing, like I said, it was basically an estuary, so mixed fresh and salt, snook, tarpon, and cichlids.
Cool.
Tarpon are so
cool.
They
know.
They can just exist anywhere.
Yeah.
They're like, there's no oxygen in the water, no problem. We'll just breathe the air.
Yeah.
Oh, fresh water, no problem. Salt water, also no problem. They're like shallow water flats. 200 feet deep, no problem.
Yeah, it's so
whatever.
Cool.
I don't care. We got this.
I kind of wish, because I'm going away when this is out, I'll be on a shoot for work, and one of the spots we were going to potentially shoot was in the salt, and I kind of wish we were, because I just want to go do a fishing shoot for tarpon. Would have been awesome, or snook, or something.
Oh my god,
redfish came at one point. I'm like, oh, man, like just go to like. I got to see the ocean again this year. Yeah. I'm hoping I can see the ocean again this year.
Oh, it'll happen. I mean, now's the. If you're listening, it's June 1st. Like, now's the kind of we're getting to. Well, not the end, but we're definitely like it's in the middle of fucking peak tarpon right now. If you're in Florida or anywhere that has tarpon, like, if you can deal with that heat, the migratories are there.
Very rad.
Even just to see one swim by you is like, wow.
Yeah, just seeing it in the water.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, and I saw manatee.
Fun.
In Belize. That was always cute.
Manatees.
And I feel like I'm the dolphin whisperer. There's always dolphins now, which is obviously not great for fishing, but I seem to keep running into them.
There was
and need a permit.
Dolphin with a permit. Freaking out.
Fuck.
Just and not a permit that you guys had in your line. Like it was a permit swimming around at a dolphin sniped it.
No,
like, there goes a permit attached to a dolphin.
I was shooting I was like the I was on the bow and I had the camera face towards Rob's boat, and then way off in like 200 feet past Rob's boat, a dolphin just launched into the air, and I was like, nothing was happening. So I was like, I go to the guide. I'm like, can we go see if that dolphin sticks around and we can get it on film?
Yeah.
And we get up to the dolphin, and it's got a fucking like frisbee in its mouth, and it's just a permit.
And he's just like, woo!
Yeah, he's like, yeah! And he's just like eating it underneath the boat.
Yeah.
It was almost like he was showing off or something.
Yeah, he's like, you guys can't catch these.
But I can.
Yeah. That's good. He needs it. Okay. Well, Belize was fun. Manitoulin, stay tuned for videos from that, and of course a podcast on that soon as well. Podcast on Manitoulin. Yep. And I guess that's everything, isn't it?
I think so, man. Another great show, and looking. I hope you have a good time on your many shoots. What is it? Vermont, Arizona.
Yeah, Vermont, Arizona, and Georgia. So
you're gonna Arizona is gonna split your brain in two.
I know we're shooting like in a really interesting place too. Obviously Arizona's pretty. You can imagine the landscape, but on a lake in Arizona with all the red rocks and stuff and the green water, it's gonna be sick.
It's still.
And the
Yeah.
lake we're going to in Georgia looks really cool too. It's kind of like,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm not
it's
trying to take
beautiful.
anything away from Vermont, Georgia. They're beautiful states. I'm just saying, like,
Vermont,
it's
too.
like you're
Well,
on
so different.
You're on Mars.
Yeah, I've never been to Arizona or Vegas, so yeah, it'd be cool. Even just driving from Vegas to Arizona to Phoenix could be interesting. The drive alone, seeing the desert, but it's
I've
looking
done that
hot
drive.
there too. Yeah, and it's sick, eh?
Oh,
Steph just did it, and she's like, "Oh, it's the best thing ever. You're gonna love it."
are you going
And-
to
but
pass through Monument Valley and stuff like that, or no?
I think kinda, yeah. But it's because we got like 3-hour drives in between stuff. So, but it's looking hot there too. So I'm packing my little shorts. I pack a little Coast of Sun shirt.
Wow.
And yeah. Good.
Wow.
Whoa. But anyways, yes, thank you so much, Fritz, for coming on. Thank you everybody for listening. Another fantastic show with Fritz. That was a really great chat. I loved it. Anyway, that's it for me, Mitch. Aldo.
Okay, bye everybody.
All right, everyone. Take care.
Come here.